Welcome to Business Online Playbook, a practical podcast for marketers, founders, and creative leaders building brands in the real world. Each episode breaks down how modern businesses actually grow online, what's working, what's changing, and what most people get wrong. Let's get into it.
I'm excited to talk with Allyson Marino. Allyson has spent years in the podcast and creator economy world, working across audience growth, revenue, partnerships, and business strategy with companies like Moonbug, Heartbeat, SiriusXM, and iHeartMedia. What I like about her perspective is that she understands both sides of podcasting, the intimacy and trust that makes the medium special, but also the strategy and business model that helps the show actually grow. So today we're just going to talk about authenticity, an overused word, but can't really get away from it, attention, and what brands and creators can learn from podcasts right now. Thank you for joining me, Allyson.
I'm so thrilled to be here. Let's do it.
Let's do it. A lot of podcasters talk about authenticity, but not all authenticity is useful. What do creators think authenticity means that actually keeps them broke, invisible, or inconsistent?
Maybe by being lazy, maybe authenticity just, like you think, oh, I just kind of show up. I just rolled out of bed and I'm going to make a podcast. People can tell, right? People can absolutely tell. So don't be lazy. Care about what you're doing. Bring yourself to the task. And I think that's true with anything. It's true with podcasting. It's true with being a friend. It's true with being a worker. And so authenticity means still bringing your full self to the task.
What does getting attention look like when you're not trying to go viral, but you are trying to get the right listener, sponsor, guest, or buyer to trust you? My friend Doug likes to say, claps aren't cash. There's no like store to spend all of my likes. I'm looking to ultimately reach like one person or one brand. What we're talking about here is not being popular, but reaching that listener or that brand or that sponsor. How do we start doing that?
I think sometimes it can be really scary for anyone, for a job seeker or for a content creator to really narrow down specifically, like exactly who I am, who I'm talking to, what I have to offer them and why it can help them. Because, oh my gosh, that may like eliminate all of these other potential maybes. That's exactly what you're talking about, is eliminating all of those other potential maybes and the noise and being really, really specific. So by being authentic, right, and showing up, which is really important if you're a podcaster, you show up consistently. Again, what is in podcasting is in life, right? So show up consistently, being yourself. Drew, I know you like to say that no matter where we encounter you, you're the same Drew. And it's so true. So by showing up consistently, your authentic self, it's pretty hard to hide your authentic self when you're showing up consistently, like whether you want to or not. And being really specific about who you're trying to reach, you're going to be the most helpful to the fewest people, which is the goal. So when designing a show or thinking about an audience, advice that is uh, is old but still so true is like think of an avatar if you need to. Think of exactly that one person that is your ideal customer, is your ideal listener. For me, if the podcasters I listen to are thinking about me, they're thinking, who is this 40-something-year-old woman that has a cat, has a dog, likes to spend a lot of time on her couch watching reality TV? Let me think about her every time I'm recapping an episode of Real Housewives of Rhode Island and talk to her every time. And if I'm thinking about, do I want a new segment in my show, or do I want to sell a sponsor this sponsored segment in my show, or do I want to go show up at an in-person real life event? Is Allyson going to be there? Is that 40-something-year-old woman who loves sitting on her couch with her cat and her dog watching reality TV and being a little catty about it? Is she there? Am I talking to her? So keep that avatar in mind all the time is a good way, at least when you're starting, to be talking to the same person consistently.
Just glad I'm not the only one watching Real Housewives of Rhode Island.
You're not. And look at us. We
Okay,
have different profiles. How do we go on?
What are podcast creators still doing because it worked in 2019, but today it just makes them easier to ignore?
Podcast creators, if they're still doing what they were doing in 2019, they're probably ignorant and blissful, and COVID never happened. No, I think that if you are doing the same thing that you were doing in 2019, maybe you're ignoring some of the new ways to reach people with your content. We talk a lot in podcasting about a pivot to video and how important video is. You don't have to make a video podcast. You can still be an audio only podcast, but know that people are looking at other media to find out what to listen to. So I'm not just listening to a podcast. I'm on Threads, or I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Reels. So by having, even if it's not a snippet of your podcast, you're not recording your podcast on video, it's audio only, still come online and tell me about it. Tell me about it with your face. Talk to me face to face. Show up directly to the camera and be in other places where I might be talking about the Real Housewives somewhere else, and tell me about your podcast there. Some of my favorite podcasters I'll see showing up all over the place in Threads, for example. There'll be somebody posting about, I don't know what to watch this week. I need some new documentaries to watch. There's a podcaster called Kate Casey. Reality Life with Kate Casey is her show. And she'll pop in the comments and say, I write a list every week of what to watch. Here, listen to my podcast or read my list. So just being helpful in those places and more actively seeking out listeners. Because as a podcaster, you have a bucket of listeners and you have to keep filling it. It's like there's a little tiny hole in the bottom of the bucket. So you got to keep filling it with new listeners all the time. So one way to do that is by showing up in the comments on people's posts who are already talking about what you are talking about too, and interested in what you're talking
Fix the bucket. I'm here for
about.
it.
Fill the bucket. Keep filling it. You can't patch the holes, but just keep filling it.
Fill the bucket. All right, I'm going to fill the bucket. For marketers, I think podcasts are interesting because they're built on trust and intimacy, not just reach. What can brands learn from podcasters about showing up like a real human?
Great question. Well, I don't think there's any better place for a marketer to put their brand than in a podcast. They're, like you said, they're not always about reach. Podcasts are not always about reach. If you're a gardening store, there's probably a podcast for you that talks specifically about gardening for your specific client in whatever zone you happen to be in the country and in your soil. So contextually, there are great places for brands to show up in podcasts, and they may not have huge reach. Now we have huge podcasts that do have huge reach. And so Toyota or Coca-Cola, maybe those podcasts are worth their time now because they have so much reach and are talking to so many people. But to show up in a place where people really care about what your subject matter is, or they care about what you care about as a brand, you can find that in podcasting. And podcasters are like the most trusted, I heard it from a friend, medium that there is. And that's why podcast advertising works so well. So if you find a podcast that is about the subject where you can enter the podcast environment and be additive to the listener experience and not just be like banging people over the head with your sponsor message, it's going to net you really great returns. That's science.
Science. For creators who want to get found and remembered, like how do they promote themselves without becoming cringe?
Yeah, that's a good one. How do you not become cringe, right? When you're talking about yourself all the time. Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it in the beginning. If you want to promote yourself without being cringe, you've just got to authentically be yourself, but you've got to do it a lot. You've got to show up a lot. When I first started selling advertising a long time ago, it's like you have to reach out to someone 3 times on average before you'll get any sort of response. But now it's like you have to reach out to someone like 9 times before they even think about maybe changing their behavior or responding to you or, considering anything different. So, pleasantly persistent, politely persistent. But you've got to show up a lot. And maybe you think you've promoted your episode a lot, but you've got to do it again. You've got to do it in all the ways that are available to you. If you're emailing people, email people. Email people, be on all the socials, be in other podcasts. A great way for me to find out about another podcast I might like. I listen to Reality Gaze talk about reality TV every week, but I also listen to their friends Pink Shade, and I also listen to their friends Watch What Crappens, and I learned about those other shows from the show I was already listening to. So much like podcasters can turn me on to products that I like and trust because I trust my favorite podcasters, they're going to tell me what other shows to listen to, and that usually works out really well too. So all that to say, showing up in other podcasts works really well.
Same thing on CPG or e-com where we mostly work, which is that people aren't gonna like engage with you if they don't remember you. And attention is such a valuable commodity these days, and our attention spans are so short that we need to show up on a regular basis in order for people to remember us and how much they love us.
Yeah, there are some great brands on Threads. I spend a lot of time on Threads lately, but like King Arthur Baking is a brand
Oh,
on Threads that is very
yeah.
popular. And I may not be baking today, but Drew, next time I buy flour, it's going to be King Arthur because they show up as this personality on Threads. It's like PBS is a great personality on Threads. Calm, the Calm app is another great one. Wendy's used to be a very popular brand on Threads, but they sort of screwed the pooch on that one and had ties to MAGA, and so they're pretty quiet now. So you can really make or break yourself in that environment. But having a personality as a brand, the Beyond Meat brand, also great character on Threads. I eat regular meat, but if I go beyond, I'm buying Beyond Meat
All,
because of their
all hail the king, baby.
yeah because of their friendship on Threads. So yeah, just showing up like a person in places is also really good.
So you've worked across the content side and the business side. Where do you see creators overvaluing the content and undervaluing the system around it?
In the mirror every day, all the time. Creators are great because they create, and usually creators are not also good at the business side. That's why I like what I do because I get to come in and translate creator to business. So my what I feel like I'm best at is helping creators make money, helping creators make a business out of their creations. So I think finding the right partners is really, really important and being willing to listen to them. The most successful creators that I work with are open to knowing what they don't know, or at least knowing that they don't know it and bringing in someone they trust to handle the rest. Because if you create a painting or if you create a podcast or you bake a cake, it can be really personal and vulnerable to go out and say, "Here, taste my cake. Would you like to buy a piece? I've made this with my heart and my love." But if you have someone, if I'm selling your cake, I'm like, "Hey, this is a great cake. You're going to love this cake." It's not going to hurt my feelings so much if somebody doesn't buy a slice, but I'm probably going to do a better job of selling those slices because that's what I'm good at. So I don't know if that analogy made sense, but having a partner who can do the business part is where I see people have the most success.
You know, whenever I hear about cake baking, I always think about the rapper Lil Debbie, who's so inappropriate. So I don't know why I'm sharing that, but she's authentic.
She
So
is.
there you go. There
She's
you
real.
go.
This is a real rapper.
Yep, yep.
She probably talks about, like, the cream inside, I'm guessing.
Lot of smoking weed and gangster stuff, and she's a skinny little white girl. It's interesting for sure.
Smoking weed used to be really gangster.
It
Now the Real
was.
Housewives of Rhode Island do it, so I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, now it's super it's super like regular mainstream.
Yeah.
So yeah. Hot take. The authenticity trap has being real become an excuse for not having a strategy.
I don't think anybody is a success without a strategy anymore. I think
Yeah.
even the most outlandish TikTokers that you may think, why is anybody watching that? It's so silly. It's so simple, but it's not because anybody that has millions of views consistently, they're working really hard and they have some insight that they know. Maybe they didn't start with the strategy, but they found something that worked and then they knew how to capitalize on that. So anybody that has a strong social following that they're engaging with a lot, those are really hard workers. So, being an authentically hard worker, I think is really, really important. I don't think anybody shows up without a strategy or without a plan and again, that consistency, which is also hard work. Nobody's successful without those things.
Yeah, I think being real without a strategy, I think the poster child of that is Kanye. So
Yes.
that usually doesn't turn out very well.
Right, right. And then you have to, go everywhere with a completely undressed partner to get attention, which, I mean, for some people that works.
Sad, sad. You've been awesome. Is there anything we missed or you want to tell the people?
If you're a podcaster with a big following looking for help finding a network or bringing your podcast advertising in-house, I'm your person. Get in
They'd be
touch.
a fool not to. They'd be a fool
Absolutely.
not to.
They would be authentic without a strategy, which is the worst thing that you could be.
It is. Well, thank you for joining me today, Allison, and I will see you around the block.
Thank you so much, Drew. Had a great time.
That's it for this episode of Business Online Playbook. If this was useful, share it with someone building a brand online. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.